Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the how to come up with some great ideas for holograms. As for holograms, the most important thing is that you need to think outside the box, and there's no restriction of like the thinking. So the author gave us some cool inspirations or exercise for people to kind of like get into the hologram. Yeah, okay. So, what's the first exercise? First exercise is transition. For example, in the book, the author kind of had like some little exercise for people to practice. For example, in the classic living room with TV set, and there's you can see there's a turtle inside in the like a living room place, like a waiting room in doctor's like appointment like area. So in this picture, what will you think, or how can we integrate some holograms inside this area? For example, what color is the turtle, or does the turtle has friends, or is the shell clean or got beat up, and how fast does it moves, and if the turtle has friend, where will it hide, or somewhere like behind a sofa or somewhere. So for example, in holograms, it's all about integrate with the reality, the 3D object interacted with the reality. So first exercise is to think, get an object outside inside a certain space, and think about it, think all the possibility of this object, and how will you present this object. Use holograms inside the space. That's called transition. And the inspiration exercise 2 is called transformation. For example, in this book, the author took a picture, and it's kind of like a light, emergency light, with two big eyes and one like a box. What does this image looks like to you? In the book, the author thinks that it looks like a robot, or some futuristics, like a alien something. As for holograms, it's more like taking the ordinary stuff in your environment, and add some interesting or surprising elements to enhance your environments. So transformation is taking current stuff that you have, and imagine it will become something else, or add some surprising elements inside the current environment. Okay, the third inspiration exercise 3 is appearing. For example, the author took a picture of kind of a lobby, and then there's a giant glass door behind it, and there were some trees behind the glass door. And what do you imagine? What do you think? Something behind the glass door with a lot of trees. And you can think of dinosaurs or aliens, or some mysterious monsters came out from the trees. So holograms can be anywhere and anything. So imagine an empty space, or a normal space that we used to just we didn't even notice that we can add so many interesting elements inside the space. So it's kind of boosting up your imagination and kind of asking yourself a lot of great questions inside this environment. Okay, the inspiration exercise number 4 is adding or augmenting. Okay, so adding and augmenting is two totally different concepts. Adding is to add new elements for people to interact with these new elements. For example, like the author add a polar bear and like in front of the user or the audience or the one who wear HoloLens. So it's called adding because like you add an element inside to surprise people, to add on, to enhance. And then as for augmented, the author gave us a simple ideas, which is like in this current space, you add the information floated above the user, so the user know more about the environment. For example, like in the picture, it's like a silhouette and a guy kind of like having a gesture like this, and there's like a line with like 3 feet 9 inches equals 114.3 centimeters. So it means like it's adding some information on top of your environment. It's more like a knowledge and enhancement, adding data inside your environment. But as for mixed reality, you can do both. Actually, for example, like you can add some data above the current environment. However, the most interesting part of holograms is to add some surprise elements. For example, like you add a polar bear in front of the user, or you add zombies, or you add like a bumblebees or big cars or dinosaur. So people will feel like, wow, it's like adding some new, surprising, fresh elements in front of the current environment. It's not really about like augmented reality. Augmented reality is more like adding useful information on top of the current environment. But mixed reality, the surprising part or the best part of the mixed reality is to add new cool stuff or cool 3D elements to interact with the user. Yeah, so the key to add the object or character is self-contained and not really rely on any existing elements. For example, like if I want to make a successful or like a really cool holograms that anyone can use in any situation, is the best way to do it is not relying on any new environment objects. For example, like if I make a coffee cup and I might need to rely on a table, right, in the reality. So if I am in somewhere where there's no table, there's nothing to hold the coffee cup, then that might like people might feel like disconnected with your object, 3D object, with your environment, because there you rely on some certain things to make your 3D object reasonable. So the best way to make elements or add an object is to self-contained, like without any reliance on any object in the real world. Your 3D object can exist on its own. Yeah, and then what's next? It's like when you have like the holograms in mind, it seems like you turn on some switches in your brain. For example, like the author says, once he started to do holograms, everything he see is like, wow, there might be a dinosaur jump out of this place or something, like when he sees something, some beautiful lobby with like an empty, no one there, or like the atmosphere looks so right, but there's just nobody, so empty. So for example, like in the book it says like the author took a picture and kind of like indicate like, oh, this is such a beautiful space but yet so empty. So he started to kind of like sketch out or like put some Photoshop or I don't know 3D object into that picture, and he wants to add some cool live music and dancing holograms inside these empty lobbies, and make kind of like adding some cool elements inside this lobby. So once you turn on the switch of your hologram, like my setting, you start to see things differently, because when the place is empty, you start to think like, what can I make this place fun or interesting and refresh? Yeah, so you kind of like turn on a switch inside your brain and start thinking about all the possibilities you can do inside a space. Okay, so the great things for hologram is it combines to reality and futuristic object. So what's the most important thing? The most important thing is not the refinement of like your sketch. It's more like a speed. So it's better to get things out very fast and kind of start experiment and start refining, kind of like lean startups, like kind of like throwing out ideas and test it out. So I mean, like as for holograms, there are so many opportunities that we can use to not only advertising, marketing, branding for the companies, for other like commercial usage, but also like for artists, we can express our feelings, or kind of like letting people like create some art inside the space, more like a digital version of installations in public space or in some different spaces. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, hope you enjoy it, and I'm trying to cut everything short, concise. So if you have any feedback, please leave under somewhere, yeah, in social media, maybe Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitters. Yeah, so yeah, see you next time. And right now I got some projects and working on augmented reality stuff. So maybe we can switch to augmented reality. It's pretty fun and commercial, and VR is more like immersive, putting yourself inside another world, and mixed reality is both augmented reality plus virtual reality. So stay tuned and see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.